Welcome. So there's a story, you may know this story. It's a story about a fish. And the fish is living where a fish does, in the water. And this fish is searching far and wide, desperately searching for water. So we're looking for something, and we think that it's missing. We think that it's not here. We think we have to do something, work harder, wait longer, search for it, go here and there. And what else? Well, all along, we're desperately trying just to hold it together long enough to be able to get to that point where we'll get whatever it is that we're looking for. So, it seems a bit dodgy at times, doesn't it? It seems like maybe you're not going to make it. Maybe you won't make it to the finish line, to that point where you'll finally be okay. So we're in search of okayness, right? Isn't that what you want? I mean, we can call it by other names: peace, happiness, freedom. I mean, we can use all kinds of words. Every word that we use carries its own baggage with it. So, you just have to pick and choose whichever one has the least baggage for you. But okayness seems like relatively baggage free. I mean, I'm sure somebody's got a big hang up on that one too, but okayness, just okayness. Don't we just want to be okay? Just be able to breathe, be able to just be. Isn't that what you're looking for? So we're looking for this okayness. We're looking, and as I say, we're trying to just hold it together until we can get that okayness. Because it seems like it's not safe. I'm not okay. This world's not okay. And it seems like a lot of evidence in support of that, right? I mean, your own mind is probably at war a good portion of the time. And, mine too, so you don't have to feel bad about that. Okay? But, the minds are at war a lot of the time. There's a lot of confusion in the body, right? I mean, have a lot of sensations, and a lot of things get provoked. So there's a lot going on that registers as not okay, not okay. This isn't okay. And then if you go looking out there in the world around you, well, actually, if you just go out there in the world around you, the truth is, if you just looked at the world around you, it would be okay. But if you look at the news, or you talk to other people, or you think about it, then, of course, the story is very much not okay. I mean, it's all very scary. Whatever. I mean, presently everybody's all worried about health issues, and but if it's not health, then it would be the economy, and if it's not the economy, then it's because the evildoers are coming, and if it's not because the evildoers are coming, it's because of the whatever. It's always something. Oh, and then there's the the all the that looming, the everything's about to end, doomsday, end of humanity, perhaps end of the planet, etc. So there's always like these stories are always bad news. Sensationalism sells. So we have a lot of evidence. It's bad, 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 not okay. It's unsafe. You don't want, you can't even breathe these days. If you breathe, it might be dangerous. Don't want to go out of the house. Don't want to do anything. It's all dangerous. It's very scary. And, and that's just at that level. But then, within yourself, all look at all of that that's going on just within yourself. I mean, forget about all the news and the stories about the world and other people, but just within yourself. Again, come back to that, and you notice you can't seem to be at ease. You can't seem to relax. There's just this constant sense of not okayness. Okay, so we're looking for okayness. We're trying, we think okayness is going to be found in the future because it's not here right now. This is what we think. Now, I mean, I know most of you, you already know the punchline, the answer. So you're thinking, wait a second, that's not true. Peace is here now. Okayness is here now. Yes, you know that, but do you really know that? You see? So this is just about telling the truth. It's not about what you know intellectually. It's not about any of that. It's just about moment to moment, telling the truth about what's happening. Okay, so what's happening for most of us, most of the time, is we're perceiving is not okay, and then we're searching for okayness, and therefore okayness is going to have to be found in the future because we say, no, it's not here now, not now. How do I know it's not here now? Because I don't feel good. I really don't. I feel uncomfortable. I feel afraid. I feel ill at ease. My stomach hurts. My head hurts. I feel weak. I feel fatigued. I can't seem to do anything right. I don't know how to relate to other people. And nothing seems okay at all, not even remotely okay. So this is what we find ourselves in most of the time. Is we're certain okayness is not here now, but we really want okayness. So okayness is in the future, but presently I'm under threat. I got to hold it together until I get to that okayness in the future. I just got to hold it together until whenever that happens. Please, God, let it be in 5 minutes. And if not 5 minutes, at least tomorrow. And well, to be honest, tomorrow seems like a stretch. I don't really see how that's going to happen, but maybe next week, please, God, next week. Well, I don't really know how that could be possible either, but at least a month from now, please. You see, so we're always putting it off because we can't actually imagine what it would be. And the reason why is because in order to imagine it, we actually have to open to that within ourselves. And in order to open to that within ourselves, we have to be willing to breathe. So we're like the fish in water. How does the fish in water breathe? Well, it breathes water. I mean, I know it's breathing oxygen, whatever, but it's breathing the water. So imagine you're a fish and you're in the water and where's the water? I can't breathe. How can you breathe if you can't find the water and you're a fish? So can you sense that sense within yourself of being this fish in the water, desperately looking for water, and you can't breathe because you can't find the water? Where is it? So this sense that I can't really breathe, I can't really be, I'm not okay. And if I'm not okay, what do I have to do? If I'm not okay, what do I do? Look to within your own experience. What do you do when you perceive that you're not okay? When you perceive that you're not okay, are you just, is that not okay? The few people whose faces I can see is just blanks. You're like, I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, it should, no, right? When you're not okay, when you perceive I'm not okay, life's not okay, I'm not safe, it's not okay right now. You can't breathe. You can't be, you can't just relax. You're not at ease. You're protecting, you're straining, you're armoring, you're trying to hold it together until the okayness arrives. So I'm pointing this out because so we can recognize it, and then it has to be lived. And when it's actually lived, it's put to the test. And when it's put to the test, what do we encounter? We encounter everything that we have understood to be not okay. So this whole model that we have, that okayness is going to arrive to us someday in the future, and then it will just stay, and oh, won't that be nice? That's incorrect. So it turns out actually that all along, always, the okayness is here. And we could say that the okayness is inside, that's true, but the okayness is also outside. And in fact, the only thing that generates this sense of not okayness is this shell that seems to differentiate inside and outside. Because it's like the inside and the outside are the same okayness. I mean, if you think about this, when your body ceases to function and the body dies, what happens to the inside and the outside? Don't they kind of eventually become one? I mean, it takes a long time for persons embalmed and put in a casket, but maybe faster if they're cremated. But eventually, whatever it is that seems to separate the inside and the outside, it's gone. There is no longer any differentiation between inside and outside. We stop making that distinction. And what a relief. I'm not saying kill yourself, by the way, because I don't think, I don't believe that would be a relief. I think that would be bad news. But I am saying that to finally not be compulsively, chronically maintaining this shell, differentiating between the inside and the outside, is a relief. And the good news is that's possible now. So like the fish in water, eventually, I don't know what happens to a fish. I don't know if a fish can hold their breath. I don't know that much about fish. Let's talk about humans for a moment. So you probably know this, but I'll say it anyway. So if you were to hold your breath and just keep holding your breath and refuse to take a breath, you would eventually pass out. and then you would resume breathing. So this is actually what's has to happen eventually. Eventually, we have to, because again, we're holding our breath, so to speak, in a sense, both literally and metaphorically. But there's some amount of effort or strain that's involved, that's chronically being maintained. That's this protective mechanism, seeking for okayness. Where is it? It's not here. I got to protect. Got to make sure I can get through until I get to okayness. Eventually, we can't maintain that forever. Just like holding your breath. Eventually, it has to stop. So rather than waiting until we pass out, how about now? And when I propose that, either you just look and you recognize what's being pointed to, or the mind starts getting involved and it's saying, oh, how do I do that? So let's look. How does one just surrender now? So there's a perception of not okay. There's a perception of threat. There's a perception that I'm here separate and I need to do something to maintain myself, and that it's not safe to trust in life. And the tendency is to look to the mind, and the mind is utilizing every resource it has in order to justify its position, which is that life is not safe. I'm separate. I'm not safe. I have to protect myself. So it's constantly in this habit of seeking out whatever will confirm its existing perspective. So here's a clue. That's not the way. If you do that, you know what you'll get. You'll get more of the same. So there's no way to, well, there's no way I'm aware of. I should qualify that. I don't know of any way to use the mind to stop the mind. It's like trying to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, one of my favorite expressions, as you know. So instead, I will propose, let's just look right now and see, is all of this that I'm compulsively doing, the compulsive thinking, the compulsive straining, the compulsive armoring, the compulsive holding of the breath, is all of that actually working to protect me? So that's a good starting point. So just take a look and see, does it work? Sort of like, does pulling the covers over your head protect you from Dracula? So there's an experience, there's a sensation, there's a state that we are habituated to, addicted to, that we accept that state means it's working, I'm protected. But we have to question that. We have to look, actually, sincerely look right now and see, is it true? Does it work? Does it protect me? Now, the reason we don't really want to look in this way is because it undoes all of this in a way that initially can seem quite threatening and scary. So it takes courage, but just be willing to look. Does it actually work? Can you actually successfully protect yourself with all the things that you do? Try it. Try and first you have to be aware of the things that you do. So what do? You have to notice. You have to feel into your own experience and notice. Do you sense that tension? Is there a tension? There's probably a tension, almost certainly a tension. What is that tension? You have to look and see, what is that tension? Isn't that tension something that you are doing, albeit unconsciously? And what is the purpose of that tension? Try and let it go. And you can't let it go all the way. Not unless you're really, really, really practiced and fortunate. But even then, you can't let it go all the way. There's still something. There's a residue. So why is it that you can't let it go? Why is it that you do that? Why is that? You have to look. Isn't that curious? You don't like it, do you? I mean, it feels uncomfortable, that constant, I can't get comfortable, I can't rest, I can't really relax, constantly uptight. Why is that? You don't like it. It's happening. Why? Now, unconsciously, we accept these, frankly, pathetic excuses. Sorry. That things like, oh, well, it's just how life is, or oh, it's because of this thing that happened to me 25 years ago, or oh, it's because I'm and then it's like you have to start scratching your head. Well, why is that? Actually, none of these reasons make any sense. Whose body are we talking about? Aren't we talking about your body? Whose nervous system? Your nervous system. Now, you don't like the experience. Why on earth is it happening? You have to see it's happening because your body and nervous system are doing it. Why are they doing it? And then then we usually settle for, well, it's just because it's because they're bad body, bad nervous system, defective, broken, or or it's the ego. We like to blame it on the ego. Bad ego. Ego's to blame. Really? I mean, let's take a look. Does that make any sense? How many of you are there? Is there one of you, or are there more than one of you? Some of you are going to say there's a lot of me. but look, yeah, there are many of you, but there's only one of you that's aware of the many. See that, and that one who's aware of the many, that's the real you. That's the one who's always here. The many come and go, but the one is always here. So that's the one who you really are. Now, hopefully it's obvious, there's only one of you. In truth, in reality, there's only one of you. There's not multiples of you. There's only one of you. And this one of you consciously has a desire for okayness. But then that's not manifesting, you see. You have a desire for okayness, but then what's happening, check again, you're uptight, aren't you? So how can that be that there's one of you, you have a clear conscious desire, but that's not manifesting? Isn't that puzzling? So I'll suggest to you why it's happening. It's happening because we believe the lies that our unconscious self. So what? Now that seems a little suspicious, I know, saying an unconscious self, but I'll explain it in a moment. But we believe the lies that our unconscious self uses to justify this position of separation, not okayness. We don't question them. And so we accept that there is a division, that there is some will apart from our own, operating in our own experience. Isn't that strange that you've just come to accept that there's some other will other than your own that's operating in your own experience? Doesn't that seem really odd? There's only one of you. But things are not as you think you want them to be. And then you just accept, well, there's another will operating in my own experience. But I don't have access to it. I'm ignorant of it. Well, yes, you're ignorant of it. That's true. But what does that mean? To be ignorant is to ignore. So now I said this rather provocative thing. There's an unconscious self. So what does that mean? So we're aware that we we learn many things. Now, in the process of learning, we have to be conscious, right? So you know that, for example, when you first learned, I didn't know, something that you can remember learning, whatever that is. Think of something that you can remember learning. So you didn't know how to do it, whatever that is. You learned how to knit, or you learned how to learned another language, or you learned how to fly a kite. I don't know. You learned something. You learned how to cook. You learned something, and you didn't know how to do it, and then you learned how to do it. Now, after a while, when you become proficient, you don't have to be conscious. You can just do it, right? And we know that this is true because almost everything that we do unconsciously, but we didn't come into this world knowing how to do those things. So walking, talking, right? All these things, basic things that we take for granted, but we had to learn how to do them. But now we do them unconsciously. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to really even be present to it. It's just in the body. So the body is really the unconscious self. So it's the repository of all of the learning. So the body has these habits. It's just composed of patterns, you see. There's just patterns. So you have a pattern, you have patterns for breathing, patterns for chewing, patterns for walking, patterns for thinking. You don't maybe realize that, but that's true. You can think in all kinds of different ways. You have patterns for thinking. And these patterns are all stored biologically, biochemically in the body. So we want okayness, but we accept when these excuses are and justifications come up out of the body, out of the unconscious self, that say, it's not safe. It's not safe. You're not okay. You can't be okay. You have to wait. So now it's pretty obvious, actually, if you just kind of observe what's going on, that you will, if you just accept these beliefs, these justifications, these rationalizations, these excuses that are all underpinned, by the way, by fear. Fear is the mechanism that keeps things in place in the body. So when you accept these things, what's going to happen is more of the same. So originally, I want you to imagine that imagine the universe is a homogeneous mass. So undifferentiated, there's nothing higher than anything else, nothing lower than anything else, nothing, everything's equally spaced, equally distributed, equally high and low, equally everything. So now imagine, now there's a desire for something to express. So this something wants to express, but how is it going to express in this homogeneous mass? There's no tendency that pre-existing, you see. It's like, how will water flow in this? If we use water as a metaphor for this expression, how will water flow here? There's no pre-existing groove for the water to follow, so it has to happen, let's say, randomly. But once that initial random occurrence has taken place, now the next time there's an expression, where is it going to go? It's obvious, isn't it? It's going to go the same way the first one went. Why? Path of least resistance. It's not going to go another way. It's going to go that way. Now, once it does that second time, then the third time, it's even more well-worn. It's definitely going to go that way. Fourth time, even more well-worn. So it's going to go that way. Now, eventually, 50 million years later, what do you have? You have the Grand Canyon, or insert the metaphor for wherever that's appropriate for wherever you live. A giant canyon. Why? Because that groove has been established, and once it's established, it's not going to change unless what? Again, it's obvious, right? Through conscious intention. You could imagine that, well, you can even see humans have done this, right? Humans have said, you know what? And sometimes with disastrous results. But they say, you know what? I don't want the river to go this way. I want the river to go that way. Through conscious intention, they manage it. So, but if there's no conscious intention, why would it change? So this is what we're facing, is that within our bodies are stored all of these Grand Canyons, these very well-established grooves by which so it's a pattern by which energy expresses. So anytime, and you just look to your own experience and see that this is true. So you have to look carefully, and what you'll see is that when you're upset, frustrated, disappointed, discouraged, etc., whatever, fill in the blank, when you're perceiving some problem, not safe, not okay, notice that your tendency is to go to a story about it. And then you think the story explains it. But pay attention and you'll see that the story actually could be substituted. You could substitute any story in there as long as your mind will accept it. Because it has nothing whatsoever to do with the story. The story is actually irrelevant. It's a distraction. What's actually happening is just that the pathway is established, the energy is going that way, it produces a particular experience, and you're not so fond of it. So then you see, what do you usually do? Okay, again, come back to, what do you usually do? Well, you tense up, hold the breath, pay attention to thought, think about it, worry about it. Meanwhile, what's happening? One more time, energy's flowing through that pathway, further establishing it. Is any change happening? No. Now, this pathway that has been very well established, and it didn't start with you, so it's not, don't blame yourself. This is it's in the human genome. You inherited it. Congratulations. Is this primal groove of not okay. That's why I'm emphasizing it. This is the basic, this is like the main river, and everything else branches off of it. So we want to come to this main groove, because once we can undo this one, then the rest of them also are undone, because this is the one that feeds all of them. So this, I'm not okay. Life is not okay. I'm not safe. I can't breathe. I don't know. I have to wait. I have to protect myself until the okayness comes. This is part of what it is to be human, at least up to now. So your parents experienced it, and their parents experienced it, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, all the way back to the very beginning. It's just like, Adam and Eve. Sorry if this is offensive to anybody, but it's like Adam and Eve. I mean, they're right there. It's told to us, right? Here's this metaphor, the story, but it's explaining to us what it is. It's like okayness, no knowledge of any evil, no knowledge of any problem, and then all of a sudden, here we go. So first humans, here's this impression, and then their children and their children and their children and their children, all on down to today. Okay, so we all inherited it. But the good news is we have the power through consciousness to change this. And how do we change it? Well, I already said, through consciousness, through awareness. So just look again and see this, I'm not okay, I'm not okay, I'm not okay. I don't know how to be okay. I don't know where okayness is. I'll try to be good enough. I'll try to be smart enough. I'll try to be mean enough. I'll try to be tough enough. I'll try to be rich enough. I'll try to be powerful enough. I'll try to be attractive enough. I'll try all of these various strategies. And they've all failed. They failed you, they failed your parents, they failed your grandparents, and so forth. They failed everyone you know. So it's not your fault. They're just doomed. They won't work. But you have to see them. You have to see how you've utilized all these strategies, and see how they've failed, and see how they're doomed to fail. See how no matter how many of these strategies you utilize, not only do they not solve the problem, actually they are the problem, you see. Because notice what happens when you're trying to get more power, get more influence, get more money, trying to get more time, get more strength, trying to on and on and on, all these various strategies. Look and see what's happening in your own experience right now. So just, you have access to all of them. Just play them through in your mind and notice what happens. Do you feel the tension, the rigidity, the sense of separation, how it provokes the anxiety, how it fuels it? I'm not okay, I'm not okay, I'm not okay, I'm not okay, but maybe I'll be okay in the future. Not okay now, not okay. Got to figure it out, got to protect, got to defeat, got to run away. So the one thing that we haven't done all the way, and your parents didn't do it, and your grandparents didn't do it, and your great-grandparents didn't do it. The one thing is to be willing to breathe anyway. To actually find out, to to tell the truth and see all these strategies fail. All these strategies reinforce the problem. The danger is looming larger with every moment. Despite all of my relative wealth and comfort and security, I mean, it seems as though humans today, certainly everybody here, because every one of you has internet access. So we enjoy more wealth, privilege, power, security, comfort than anybody for a long time. And it's not enough. It doesn't work. In fact, because it doesn't work, I bet we're more anxious, more insecure than any of our ancestors. So we can see that in our own experience, and then just tell the truth. You just have to look right now and see none of it will work. None of it's going to work. No matter how long I fight, no matter how hard I struggle, no matter how many strategies I employ, I will never succeed. I will never gain the okayness that I so desperately want. In fact, the more that I try, the further out of reach it becomes. So this is the point right now, in this moment. See that, and then just for one instant right now, be willing to surrender. Be willing to just allow the breath to occur. Be willing not to force anything, not to protect anything, not to strain, not to defend, not to fix, not to argue, just within yourself for one instant right now. You don't have to know how. If you think you have to know how, you're still not doing it. If the only way to do it is right now, just for one instant. And so for one instant, there's a complete surrender. Just one instant, just 1/2 second. You don't have to sustain it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to get hold of it. You don't have to do anything. Just 1/2 second. let go. And if you say, I don't know how to do that, just notice that it's actually happening. You see, it's actually happening. Because you can't, as we saw earlier, hopefully, none of these things ever worked. They weren't keeping you safe. They weren't protecting you. Here you were all along, you're thinking, oh, I'm protecting myself. I've got my shield up. You have no shield. Your shield you're like the emperor with his new clothes. You don't have any clothes. You're naked. You have no shield. It was all a lie you were telling yourself and believing. All along that you weren't protecting yourself. You were wide open. But in this one moment, one instant, you can just glimpse that. And in this one instant that is glimpsing right now, then you can tell the deeper truth. What is it that's glimpsed here in this 1/2 second? This 1/2 second in this flash of truth might surprise you. It's okayness, isn't it? So you are the fish in the water. So now we can glimpse this, and that's essential, and it's rare, and it's a gift. So please understand that, acknowledge that to yourself, because the tendency to dismiss it, to go back to the mind and listen to the mind, and the mind will say, well, I don't think it worked. I don't think anything happened. I don't think you saw anything. That tendency is there. It's just that same tendency to go right back to that old groove. So here's this precious gift, a rare, precious gift that you're receiving. And you have to see that and tell the truth about that, because otherwise, as I say, you'll go right back as if nothing ever happened, because this groove is here. It's so strong. It's so well established. So it's a mistake to think, oh, I'm going to have some singular experience and that's going to change everything. No, you have a singular experience, and then you have this singular experience, and then this singular experience, and this singular experience, and this singular experience, and you have to keep telling the truth. Eventually, yes, eventually, this groove of okayness, this groove of peace becomes so well established that it eclipses the other. But you have to be consciously choosing that. So it requires intention. And first, in order to make that commitment, requires an acknowledgement, a recognition that, yes, this is rare. Most people will not glimpse this. So it's a precious gem. So honor it. Honor it, because this is, sincerely, I mean this. You're every human, this has been their desire. This is the fulfillment of their desire. Their purpose is to discover this truth of okayness. That's what everybody's been looking for. Everybody throughout all of time has been looking for okayness. This is the fulfillment of that. And when we honor this glimpse, when we can stay true to it and establish this new groove of okayness, we are honoring all beings. But if we don't, then, well, then we're not. So it's a big deal, even though it can seem the mind will trivialize it, but it's a big deal. And you'll know it's a big deal because of the tendency of the mind to trivialize it, because if it wasn't such a big deal, the mind wouldn't need to trivialize it. Because it's such a big deal, it poses it is the only threat to the dominance of this groove of not okayness, which is a lie fundamentally, because that groove of not okayness is all about I'm separate, life's not okay, life's not safe, I must be afraid. And it's a lie. And so it poses an enormous threat to a lie to tell the truth, and to continue to tell the truth eventually undoes the lie. And when we collectively are willing to tell the truth and inquire in our own direct experience, then we are making a change not only for our own so-called individual experience, but we start to recognize that there really is only one thing happening. So it is in that expression, it's expressed not just in our individual so-called experience, but it becomes manifest in this whole world, because we start to recognize that I'm not separate from this world. I'm not this character who I've taken myself to be. I am this pure awareness in which this world is appearing. So let's take a few minutes now to explore this peace inquiry. So starting from this recognition, this direct recognition here now that I am this open, pure awareness in which all experience comes and goes. So we can just notice that directly for ourselves. The mind doesn't have to agree. The mind can't actually go there. This pure awareness is what's aware of the mind. It's prior to the mind. And so we can just notice that I am already that. I'm already always aware, effortlessly aware. Doesn't matter whether I like my experience or don't like my experience, whether I think I'm okay or I think I'm not okay, I'm always equally aware. So I am this open awareness. And then from this recognition of this open awareness, we can begin to imagine the possibility of the expression of true peace in our bodies, minds, homes, families, communities, schools, workplaces, governments, and in this whole world. And just notice wherever there's a resistance or an objection. And you can just notice that that resistance or objection is about a sense of not okayness. And then just allow yourself to be non-judgmentally aware of that. So how can you be non-judgmentally aware? Just for a moment, notice that in right now, here and now, in this present moment, there's nothing really at stake. It's safe just to observe your own experience. So just observe the experience without attachment to the outcome, without needing it to go a particular way, without holding on to any notion, belief, or idea, and just see it as it unfolds. See the belief, the hesitation, the resistance, the tension, the images, the memories, and so forth, and just see them without needing to do anything with them or fix them. Just see them and know that in the seeing, in the witnessing, there's a transformation taking place. So just see whatever the objection or resistance is to peace manifesting in your life, in your community, and in your world. And there's no right or wrong, it's just whatever's there. So we're just witnessing the existing groove, the existing conditioning, because we have to see it so that we can have that true knowledge and see it for what it is. And then again, just allow yourself to just rest as open awareness. Just notice that you're effortlessly aware of everything. So it doesn't matter whether you think you feel good or you feel bad. It doesn't matter whether you think you understand it or you think you don't understand it. None of that actually is relevant or important in this moment. Just to notice that you are aware, just effortlessly aware. You're always effortlessly aware. It's always the truth. And it's that simple. And this effortless awareness, this pure, open awareness has no problem, and it is true peace. Now, one more time, imagine this true peace, unconditional peace, expressing in your body, in your mind, in your family, in your home, in your community, in workplaces, in schools, in your country, and in the world, among people and nations and species, with the planet itself. And just notice whatever objections or resistance arise to that imagination. So we're not trying to force anything here. We're allowing and welcoming whatever resistance is there because we're wanting to see it. So don't try and overpower it. Don't try and force peace. That wouldn't be peace. It's just to, here we're just seeing where the resistance is, because you notice as pure awareness, peace is already true. It's already the reality. It's already here. We don't need to force it. It's already the truth. So all we want is to see what is it that obscures that true peace from expressing purely. And that's the resistance. That's the existing conditioning and beliefs. So just see those and just lightly allow yourself to notice whatever's there, the thoughts, the beliefs, the images, the memories. And by the way, here's an important point. You might notice things about yourself that are uncomfortable to notice, things that don't jibe with your self-concept or self-image. For example, you might think of yourself as a very peaceful, nice, spiritual person. And what you might find is that actually you have quite an attachment and an addiction to the drama of other people being bad or wrong, of having evil and villains, of you being in the right, and you being smart and more knowledgeable. You might see these things. And if you see these kinds of things, be grateful, because you can just see them without judgment. If the judgment is there, just see the judgment too, without judgment. And see that this is just more of the conditioning. It's more of the lie that's held this establishment of not okay in place for such a long time. But in this moment, you can relinquish that attachment just by seeing it without taking it personally, just seeing that this is just some conditioning, something you inherited, a tendency toward arrogance, pride, addiction to drama. And just see it and surrender it all now. And notice that when you do so, actually this true peace is made manifest right here and now, that it's actually made manifest in your own experience, in your own sense of yourself, that in truth, in this moment of surrender, in this moment of willingness to see without attachment, all of these things, even what you've previously taken personally, establishes this peace in you, in your sense of self, actually, in your direct experience of yourself right now. Actually, the conflict ends when there's just a pure seeing and witnessing and allowing and accepting. And so here in this space of allowing and in this space of true peace, actually, we all meet here. Whatever our differences may be, our different ideas of how things should be, our different political views, our different social views, our different ideas about the economy and education and race and religion and all of these different ideas actually become irrelevant in this space right now, in the space of allowing, witnessing, and the expression of true peace. So here we are actually all one, and that this is a oneness that's alive. It's not just theoretical, but it's alive. It's alive in our willingness to meet and be present to our experience. So it's a beautiful gift. And thank you for your willingness to explore this together with me. Thank you for your participation and for joining me today, as always. And Merry Christmas Eve to you. And for those who are here live, we'll stay on for a Q&A if you'd like. So let me end this recording.